welcome.
To hear my experiences, you're just going to have to come next Sunday. But I invited Reverend Kathleen for purely selfish reasons. There's a quality of love and surrender and spirituality that I wanted for myself. When I saw her, she had to come. And with my greatest pleasure, my new sister, my love bug, Reverend Kathleen.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me. And Kim really touched my heart about her mom and packing her things to spend the last moments or days with her mom, because I know, you know, Spirit has told me my dad won't be here that long. And I was just with my parents. My parents live on the East Coast. I was just with my parents recently, and I was just looking at my dad and, you know, loving him and thinking, you know, I'm so grateful that I still have my dad at this age in my life. And really grateful to be here today. I am a metaphysical minister, and what they call me is a crystal bed practitioner. And today's kind of a sad day, because last night on the way home, after dinner, going up in the mountains, I hit a dog. Oh. And he died. And right before it happened, like, he looked me right in my face, and I saw him. And then it happened. You know, it was like a split second, and I was just devastated, you know. And but I try to find God in every situation. No matter how sad, I find God in every situation, because God does what God does. And that little animal chose me to end his life, because his life was over. And I love him, you know, and I have found peace with the experience. So I had an anxiety attack before I got into the car, so I didn't want to get back in the car. And Jenny helped me, and I got in the car, and so it's my time now to spend my time with you and tell you how I became who I am today. And in 2013, in the spring, I was sitting in my office, because by trade I'm a paralegal. I was a paralegal, and I practiced intellectual property law for many, many years. I traveled all across the country doing trials. And I was sitting in my office doing some research, and Spirit spoke to me. He said, "Kathleen, you have to get a crystal bed." I'm like, what? And so I kept working, you know, I was like, oh my God, you know, another message. And so I could never shake that voice. It kept repeating it every day. So I said, okay, God, whatever, I'll find out how to do that. And so I was Googling all over the place, and I found this crystal bed that was made in Germany. And so I pulled it up. I'm like, well, is this the one? He's like, no, no, it's in Brazil. I said, well, why didn't you just tell me in the beginning? I was spending like a week of my time trying to find this stuff. And so I always knew about John of God, you know, since the 80s. And because I've always studied under many masters throughout my life, because I had a traumatic life, and I wanted to be healed, and I wanted to be free, you know, from victimhood, and I wanted to become more of who I am. And so I was always studying things, but I never envisioned myself going there or being there, or it's just like, he was a nice guy, you know, he heals a lot of people, you know. And so what I found out was that you had to get permission to own a crystal bed. And so I wrote down there, and this guy named Diego, about 2 months later, responded to my email and asked me to send my photograph down and some other things, and it would be presented. Another couple of months later, I hear back from Diego, you know, you've been approved to own a crystal bed. And that price, I was like, God, you gotta be kidding me. And so, simultaneously, there was a weekend paralegal job that dropped in my lap. So I worked for 10 months, 7 days a week, to be able to purchase the crystal bed. And so my plan was that I would have them ship this crystal bed up to me, and that would be the end of that. And I didn't know what was going to happen. So I went to God and I says, okay, I'm ready to get it. I'm just going to have this guy, Diego, mail it up. And God said, no, Kathleen, you must go down there because you need to be healed. And you need to experience the whole thing because you're going to have clients. I'm like, really? Yeah, you're going to have clients, and you're going to need to be able to help them and tell them who you are and what happened. So I was 59, and I says, okay, then I'll just go down in the beginning of December, and I'll have my 60th birthday there. And so I did, you know, and I was like kind of clueless, like what was going to happen. You know, and I had a hard time finding a tour guide to take me there. It was going to be there for my birthday. And so that was like 3 weeks of trying to find that. And then all of a sudden, one of the tour guides referred me to this woman named Kathy South. And she was actually going to be there for the time where I could have my birthday there. And so I ended up going to the Casa the Saturday after Thanksgiving. And I was just on a journey, but God had clearly said to me that I would not see the whole picture. I would only see the next step. And so He would tell me the next step, and I would do it. Tell me the next step, and I would do it. So I'm on the plane, I'm on my way to Brazil, and I get there, and I had amazing experiences there. You know, I met John of God, and I did the work. You know, I didn't know what it was going to be like. It's not a vacation. You do a lot of work on yourself. And God reveals to you and shows you the things within you that need to be healed and what you have to do to heal them, what you have to let go of. It's a very deep inward journey. And so I was taking that journey, and how it works down there, you go in the morning and you go in front of John of God and you ask for 3 things. The translator translates it. And you'd go before him and they tell him the 3 things, and he will either tell you to sit in the current, go to the sacred waterfall, do crystal bed treatments, whatever he decides or God decides through him that you need to do. And every time I went up there before, he wrote me one of these prescriptions for these herbs that I was supposed to take. Like, oh my God, how many bottles of these do I need? It's like I had like 5 bottles. I said, okay, well, I'm not going in front of him anymore. So I started to sitting in the morning. In the afternoon, you sit in these rooms, and they call it a current room. And in Portuguese, current means change. So it's not really a meditation, but you sit there and you close your eyes and you sit the whole second session, and you hold a space for him to do his work, and you hold a space for the people coming in the afternoon for help afterwards. So in the current, a lot of things happened to me. And I grew, I expanded, I cleared things out, and I had a lot of healing that was done there, both physical, spiritual, and mental. And on my birthday, I bought the crystal bed, and I took it back to my room. I didn't know what to do with it, you know? And I just put it in the room and, you know, continued on my work. And so they trained me down there how to use it, told me what it was and what it was about. And on Thursday, December 12th, my granddaughter was born, and her name is Luna. And before I went to Brazil, there was a lot of conflict because I wanted to be there for the birth of my granddaughter, but she really wasn't supposed to be due until I got back. And my daughter said to me, no, this time you're not supposed to be there. And so Luna was born, and when she was born, my daughter texted me and said that the doctor said that Luna had Down syndrome. I'm like, well, why would he be saying that? And she said, well, her ears are low set and her muscle tone is low. She said Luna's very, very ill. Well, I was devastated, and I had one more day to see John of God and spend time with him. And so I said, well, send me her picture and I'll present it to John of God for healing. And I was just a mess. And so Friday I got up and I took Luna's picture, and I told him through the translator, you know, what the symptoms were, and gave him the picture. And he has a work basket that he keeps the pictures in, and the entities work on those people from the work basket, long distance. And he picked out a triangle and 2 crystals for me to send to my daughter to put in the incubator with Luna. And Luna is 1 year old now, and the Down syndrome has been reversed. And she's doing pretty good. I call her my spiritual warrior, and I know that that's the reason why God really sent me to Brazil, to be there for my granddaughter, to be in assistance in the transition, because she was allowed to change her mind about the way she wanted to come into this world. And so I came back, and I thought that healing meant that when my daughter got those test results back, that Luna would not have the extra chromosome, but Luna has the extra chromosome, and the healing, God said, is going to take 2 years for it to be completely done. So little by little, Luna started transforming. Her lungs were restored to normal. Her hole in her heart was closed up. Her allergies were healed. Her physical appearance began to change. And her ears were like way down here. Her ears actually moved up to the right place where they were supposed to be. And she's trying to walk, but I just watch her because she's a perfect example of God's grace and mercy. She's a perfect example of patience, because she doesn't care that it's taken 2 years. She's just being a baby, you know, in her own way. And so I was deeply grounded at the Casa when I was there, and that's the name for the place where John of God works, Casa Dom Ignacio, and it's the house of St. Ignatius, and St. Ignatius is the patron of the Casa over there. And so when I came back, Spirit had told me to go to this place called The Path, and that's where I would be working with the crystal. So I go, well, where is The Path, you know? And so I was looking around in Redondo Beach, found a place called The Path, and I found it. And it's like half a block from my house. I'd never seen it before. And I was very timid then, you know. I didn't know how to work that way. I knew how to be a paralegal, but I didn't know how to do this other stuff. And so I called the lady, and I was like, well, I said, do you have a crystal bed practitioner that works here? And she's like, what? And I'm like, oh, okay. I introduced myself. I told her I had this crystal bed from John of God. And she invited me to come, and I gave her first treatment and started working there. So people started coming.